I wanna start in a very weird way, yeah? So let's talk as if we are like talking to each other, yeah? Like we're
Mm,
not actually recording, okay?
yeah. Okay, we're starting. I'll start. Okay.
No, no, I start.
I start.
Okay, you start.
Okay, you start. You start. It's okay. I will follow up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Um okay. Welcome back to No Boundaries, and this is the Who's Next series. With ABD,
And Fardan.
in this series, we interview young professionals who have lived, studied, and worked in more than one country. So, Fardan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good as well. It's a bit busy, but yeah, I'm doing fine. So, who are we interviewing today?
I mean, last time we said episode 10 we would interview you and then it will be followed by me. So it's going to be me this week.
Oh, right, right. I must have forgot.
Okay.
Anyways, so Fardan, could you give us a short introduction about who you are and what, where did you grow up? How many countries did you go to, etc.?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, everyone must know by now that my name is Fardan and I'm originally from India, but I was born and raised in UAE or United Arab Emirates or Dubai for the outside world because not many people know what UAE is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've lived in UAE most of my life. I've lived in different cities, Alain, Abu Dhabi, and before I left UAE, I lived in Dubai. And yeah, that's how my life was. I used to visit India uh, sometimes, probably once a year. So I've lived in UAE, India, and now I'm currently in Sweden. I just started my second year masters in materials engineering. I study at Chalmers University of Technology in Gothenburg. So yeah, I have done mechanical engineering and I've worked for like a short span, like about a year, and then started my masters. Um, yeah, that's it. So I've lived in UAE, India, and Sweden, roughly three countries.
Can you tell us about an interesting thing that happened during your like during your childhood?
Early thing, yes, let's go back to like, let's say like when I was like 7, 8 years old, like, you have this typical, uh, I'll say it Asian mentality, like everyone around you are interested on what you're gonna be when you grow up. Like, you usually end up asking these questions. And like, it's
Yeah, I know.
usually, it usually should be either like, something related to doctor or engineer. Otherwise, people get disheartened hearing that you want to be something else. So, I mean, like, as far as I remember, I've always been interested in cars and like, whichever like toys I get, I guess I use it for like 1, 2 weeks and next week, it's in different parts. I remove it in parts and I end up seeing what's inside. So yeah, most of the time that's what I ended up doing. And for some reason, I always liked cars, and I decided I wanted to become an engineer. So when people asked me what I wanted to become, I always remember that I said I want to be an engineer, which I guess made them happy, uh, or not. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's what I've always wanted to be an engineer. So that's what I am now, I guess.
Did you ever when you bought any cars, any toy cars, did you
Mhm.
ever want to like break it and see how it's working, or did you have an interest to like break things and fix them again?
As far as I remember, I don't, from my childhood, I don't remember that I broke anything, then I fixed it back. Because the first time I remember was when I broke it, and then, like, maybe for some reason, like it was a car, it stopped functioning. So that I took the motor out, and, like my father, is like from a physics background, so he knows, like some stuff about what's going on, like even in physics and engineering. So like that was the first time, like, uh, the motor that was taken out, and he kind of made something like a fan, if I remember. And like once we took a battery and we connected it, like it started spinning, and that was like a wow moment for me. I was like, okay, so this is what was, running the entire thing inside. So like that's how things went. Like I don't remember breaking and fixing anything when I was young, but like towards like teenagers, like I used to do things like that because I used to participate in some, like, science exhibitions and stuff. So where you had to like do some uh, projects which involved something like, motors, or something else related to engineering. So that's when like I used to break things apart from different places, and then use that to build something. So I've done things like, like building hovercraft from, ventilation machines from PCs. Then I've used, like, I remember, like, I broke apart a motor and, like, took the copper coils and then used, like, a lot of magnets, and then to show that, like, how an electric motor works. So, like, you have an electromagnet and then you have magnetic field, and to show that, yes, this is how, uh, like, a motor works. So, yeah, as long as I remember, I've always been interested in, like, physics and math, a bit on the biology side, but not that much, and chemistry a bit too. But it was mostly physics always for me, physics and math.
That's really interesting. An engineer before even getting into university. I
Mm.
mean, yeah. Some people do have like do participate in these competitions, but what made you like go into these? Were you like encouraged by your parents or school? What happened?
I think it was like in like around fifth or sixth grade. Like it was both the school and the parents. But like first it was like it was my school. My school encouraged um, like students, like at least I don't know if it was school or it was my class teacher, but it was my class teacher. I guess she was like it was in fifth grade. I had the same class teacher from I think second until fifth grade. So she was like really close with my mother, and like I mean, still like my mother met her recently, and she was like, she asked like how I was doing, so she still kind of remembers my entire class. So she encouraged students to participate, and the fascinating thing was she was not even a science teacher; she was my English teacher, and her name was Brinda, and he was the one who encouraged people from my class participate in that competition. It was called Idea competition, and it was going to be held in my school, so they obviously wanted people to participate. So she was the one who encouraged, and that's when like I took up that electric motor project. Because I mean, you see motor inside like a casing, but you don't know how it functions and everything. So that's when I took up that project, and I kind of got help from my father also, like, because you need to get stuff, like, you need powerful magnets and stuff, and he kind of helped in building that. So it's kind of overall, it's like a school teacher and my parents who kind of, encouraged in this scientific projects.
Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna have to tell her about this episode. Tell your teacher about this episode, as I know that, as we both know, how important it is when we meet or when we get together with a good mentor who like advises us and tells us what we need to fix and how to do it.
Yeah.
Um, so how was your overall school experience?
I mean, like for the most of my school life, like I spent close to 10 years in Abu Dhabi Indian school. So as long as I remember, like, I was kind of the guy who didn't participate in a lot of sports. I used to do some sports like, football and stuff. I was kind of this quiet guy who did not get into a lot of, what can you say, things that take your attention away, like all those kinds of stuff. If I want to put it in one nutshell, so you probably understand what are those. I was just a guy like, like studying, like, going back, do some sports here and there, play some video games and stuff. But then that, as long as I remember, there was only one turning point because I wasn't always the guy who was studying. So it was like in the fifth or sixth grade I studied in CBSE, in which there is a big jump in difficulty level, I would say. So that's when I found out because I used to keep everything towards the end and then study. And I found that in sixth grade, it was becoming really hard. And my mother told me one thing. It's like, just try to study things that have been taken like in every day. Just try to revise it the same day. So in that way, you don't have to, like, suffer in the end. So that was like one turning point, and I've followed that uh, almost till today that I do that. I don't like to put things until the end. Um, it's like, don't try to put things off until the end. Just try to do them uh, when it's kind of fresh in your mind so that you can get it done. I guess that's two lines.
That's an interesting way to describe your school life. It's like giving students or giving listeners and viewers an advice, and at the same time, it was your experience. So, would you send your kids to the same school if you're given a chance?
If it is the same school, the same management that I was used to, then probably yes, I would send them there again. If I were to live in UAE,
I see.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, if you were to live in the UAE, right? But if it was a similar system in Sweden, let's say, would you send them to that?
No, I would prefer them to go to like a Swedish or the education system which is from Swedish, and I would even refrain from sending them to an international because I mean it was kind of something that not my just my parents but all the Indian parents that what they did was they kind of put all their kids in an Indian school because living in UAE wasn't permanent, right? Even you know that. So there's going to be some point of time you need to go back to India. And in India, it's predominantly, we don't have like, we have some IBs and, things like that, but it's predominantly Indian syllabus. So it's CBSE syllabus. So that's why most of the Indians you would see like 85 to 90% of them would end up studying in an Indian system because once you go back, if you study in some other system, it's going to be harder for you to adjust in India because the CBSE is known to be really hard. But then, like, if I were to live somewhere outside and if I know that that country is kind of stable, for example, in a European country where I'm going to stay for a longer time, I would send my kids to school system which is in that uh, it's within that country. So if it's like in Sweden, it's be a Swedish school. If it's in German, it'll be like a German school system. In that way, like, like they also kind of get to know the culture, and like, the language is going to be easier for them. And later on, like, and even if they want to end up studying bachelor's or something in that, country, it's because, most of the bachelor's is in the local language. It's going to be easier for them.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like if we're living like right now we're both living in Europe and I mean I have a different opinion about school in general, but if I had that opinion of like sending my kids to school, I would send them to like German or Swedish schools. You're right. And I don't think the reason why like Indian or foreign parents used to send their kids to like international schools was the fact that the country wasn't stable, but it was also like um how do you say it? Like the schools or like the United Arab Emirates schools were not that great. Like they were not highly ranked, they were not highly known, and no one really knows what's going to happen to them if they graduate from those schools. Like, are you going to join a university in the UAE or are you going to leave? Like, it's I don't know. To
Yeah,
us,
that's the thing, right? Like, because most of them, like, let's say, like 50 to 60% of them who study school in India, they end up leaving outside. So they either go back to India or they just go to, like, the Europe or the US, North America to do the for higher education. So CBSE was a safe side because it's really well known and it's known to be hard. So people really know about it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So after high school, like I know you've said that you liked cars and like when you were young, like used to like cars and whenever anyone asks you, you said you wanted to become a mechanical engineer or an engineer. Uh,
Mm.
why mechanical engineering? Like why not architectural or civil engineering?
Uh, Good question. And so, like, as I was saying, like, I didn't do my final high school in Abu Dhabi. So, my final 2 years was in Dubai. I studied in Indian high school. So, during those 2 years, I took a subject. It was called engineering drawing. Because most of the schools, at least CBC schools, they have only like either computer science or like you do biology or stuff, but I knew that I wanted to be an engineer, and I wasn't sure if it should be in mechanical because I had an option for like automotive, and I had even idea for mechatronics. So it was during those 2 years where I took that engineering drawing because you do sub drawings of like we did this in first year of mechanical engineering. It's like drawing on the paper. So we did draw like bearings and like different kinds of mechanical components. So it was during that 2 years that I realized that I should lean towards the mechanical and automotive side a bit more. But then I decided to go with mechanical because I looked up at automotive, and it wasn't that far from mechanical, and mechanical was a kind of a bit more broader degree because if you do automotive, you'll be known to that, known like you would want to work on only like, automotive vehicles. But then if you have mechanical, like your options are really broad. Like you can work in the energy sector, you can work in automotive, you can work in like robotics. So it was kind of really a broad option which made me decide to do mechanical engineering. Like yeah, that was my teacher also who taught engineering drawing. Her name was Malti. So she was the one also who encouraged like mechanical would also be a better option because almost everyone who did that course, ended up doing at least 50% went into mechanical, but other people went into architecture because we had like, topics of like, like the normal drawings that we did was using like tools like, drafter and scales and, all the stuff. But there were some people like who did freehand drawing. So like they used to sketch freehand and they had the artistic skills, I would say. So I felt that they would be better for architecture, and I did not have those artistic skills, and like, I wasn't interested in architecture also, and neither in civil engineering.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we both were not interested in either of them, and I'm sure we also both agree that mechanical is probably the better option.
I mean, I would agree, and the other thing was like I didn't want to do anything related to buildings. I just felt that that industry is kind of, like oversaturated because like throughout my life I've met more civil engineers and like once I met like someone who's mechanical or electrical engineer, like the vibe was just really different, and I wanted to be or I wanted to do what they were doing because I used to ask them like what do you do and etc. They say like, oh, I work in oil and gas, or I work in like manufacturing, and it kind of felt nice. And like with civil and architecture, it's like okay, they design stuff, they go to customer, or they'll be like change this, change that. This is what I kept hearing, and I did not like. I did not really like the nature of work because even once we were constructing a house, like we interact a lot with architecture and civil engineers, and it just felt like yeah, not really. I don't want to do what they're doing. That was the first impression. Like, I don't want to do what they're doing.
Yeah, same, same.
I mean,
So,
you grew up looking at one, so you have better experience.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is, I don't know what it was. Like, I didn't really want to build houses, even if it was like, I don't know, exchangeable, interchangeable rooms, and like you have a mechanical engine who's that's like changing where the rooms are. Like, I know some people are working on those concepts now, but to me, it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, I wanted to build products, build machines. Like, I didn't really like the fact that I was gonna build houses. I don't know. It was just me. So yeah, we had like similar like we don't want to do this like in the future.
Yeah.
So how was life as a student at Harriet? How did you like what was different between the university and school? And how were the people? Were the people different as well or were they similar?
First, like, yeah, Harriet was like my only option for engineering that I have to say. And because, it was a UK university and, like it had a really good reputation and stuff. So once I started Harriet Ward, it kind of felt different because the first thing that I noticed was, the multicultural people from different cultures, from different nationalities. I wasn't used to that because I came from a predominantly Indian school, so most of the students were Indians, faculty, teachers were Indians, and like I was used to the whole Indian stuff. The So once I moved to Harriet Ward, like we had people from different nationalities. Most of them were Indians, obviously. You know that, like 50 to 60% were Indians, but at least you had 40% of the people from different countries. So I always, try to, try to get to know them, like because I haven't met like people from Russia, uh, like other countries, like what we had, like people from Syria, then we had Egypt, some from Jordan, then who else from Philippines, like yeah, these people like would have met them on street or you would have had like brief interactions, but like you studying with them, you interacting with them. People from the UK we had, and yeah, people from China, I guess, not that much, but not that many, but yeah, we had some. So this was kind of different, like that was one really striking feature of Heriot.
It's interesting how we're living during times where you have to study online instead of going to classes and meeting people. Like a question that keeps, or a question that's constantly there, or that everyone keeps asking is, why do people go to university? Why do you think people go to university?
Well, well, people go to university. You don't just go to, study and like, gain knowledge and then go get out of the university and like, start working. You go for the whole experience. So like you go for your brief interactions with the teachers, with the students, with the faculty or university staff. You get to know the whole experience, like how to interact with people, how to interact with people of different nationalities, different cultures. Because you would have used to your own set of stuff. Like for example, me or you, like if you do what you have been doing with people from your own culture, that would be, if you do that with someone else, it can be seen as rude or like what's this person doing. So you get to know of how to interact with other culture, how to talk with them, things like that are not felt in online classes. And the even the people who take online classes, at least at Chalmers, they actually say that this is kind of really weird for them too, and because they miss interacting with students. So it's a kind of two-way road. So you miss both the sides, and yeah, this is what people are missing. And I feel really sad for people who just started the university because one, they're not used to the new place, and second of all, they haven't, like, some of them didn't even go to the country or reach the country that they are studying at. And they don't know their classmates, they don't know anything. But for me, at least, like what I spent, I got to know my classmates, and I went to classes for like 6 months, 7 months. So I know my classmates, I know the city, I know the professors, not all of them, but at least most of them. And yeah, this is what is the drawback of online classes. But we have to do what to do.
Yeah, I guess. You were talking like you were you were saying you had two reasons or two experiences in university that were like significant. What was the second one?
The first one was what the multicultural aspect, and second one was like, I was used to the whole, like, morning 8 to 5 kind of school. And like when we went to university, it was like you just had like 2 hours or 4 hours of class, and then you were like, okay, now what do I do? So this was kind of really different. So most of the time was, ended up with like, hanging out with people from our class. And second was like, that was like the first or second, because first year wasn't so hard, but, and then like, I mean, you used to come and to the class and leave, but then like I used to still stay, like, talk with, other guys, like hang out with them, get to know them more. So this was something really different because it felt like you're on your own, and like no one is there trying to, like, like go attend classes, because sometimes university doesn't make it compulsory for you to attend classes. Some of them did, but then you're kind of on your own, so you are more open to take your decisions. And mind you, what decisions you take is gonna change what you turn out to be. You can either decide to go to class, or you can decide to go to cafe with your friends. And friends are not gonna be there always. So, or cafe, you can't keep end up going to cafe if you don't end up, getting your degree, or if you don't end up passing the course. So yeah, that freedom was freedom of taking your own choice and doing what you want. That wasn't uh, existing in school.
Like you were talking about how decision taking was a big aspect of joining university. That's where you learned that you had to take initiative. What like on what things did you on what activities did you do at university? Why did you take them? Like why did you decide to take them? And what skills have you gained after like participating in them?
Yeah. Yeah, like first 2 years, I didn't get involved in a lot of like activities, and but it was more towards the third and the fourth year, and I was part of careers ambassadors. So there was careers office, and they wanted to recruit people from different programs and different departments. So I got selected for mechanical engineering, and I guess you and there were like three other people that I also applied. So I was the one that they picked for what I'm still not sure. They said that it's what we, it's what you wrote in the cover letter. I was like, okay. And if
No, I remember it was a question, right?
it was like three questions, and I just answered them, and I got an email saying that okay, we have been selected. Come for the introductory meeting, and I went. So that's how it started. So it was just me from mechanical engineering, and it was few people from chemical, electrical, some from business. So it was like roughly in the beginning it was big, like it was like 12, 13 people, but then in the end the circle got a bit smaller, like 6, 7. So I was part of that for like 2 years, third year, and not so much focused on the fourth year, but like third year was most of the time that I spent in fourth year. Like I got a bit busy with other stuff, and I couldn't contribute that much to that. So it was just like, they used to have a lot of different workshops and stuff. So it's kind of, passing on the information to the students and encouraging them to go, because they always, towards the end of the fourth year, they'd be like panicking and stuff. So like they don't have a CV, they don't have a cover letter, they don't know how to prepare for an interview and stuff. So the main goal was like, promoting this events within the students, and like also we had to like plan and organize some events. So like I had to like we had to plan like some during the career fair, which we have like once a year. So we have to plan for that, like help in organizing that. So yeah, these were the things that I did in Career Ambassador, and it was fun. And the other one was IMechE. We had a chapter, Institution of Mechanical Engineers. We had a chapter at Harvard. So I mean, I was the chair for it in my final year. So it was more of organizing some events, some competitions for students, and promoting the membership, because you could be an affiliate member for free and you can access all their resources library. And yeah, I'm an associate member now for that. So it's kind of nice because you have a lot of events going on, and now it's kind of online. um, and like IMechE is kind of famous because they also coordinate the formula student, and like even in Chalmers we have a formula student team, and like a lot of universities have it. So it's kind of known for that name. And over whichever mechanical engineers, if you're from, if you're studying university, or if you've done studying, like, consider being a member in that. And, Dr. Mehdi is one who represents, or is the academic liaison officer for Heriot. So if you have anything else related to that, or if you're from Heriot, you can always contact him. And I guess the current committee is doing a good job. So coming on to the lessons that I learned, it's more of, interacting with people, because that's, I don't know, like I learned a lot in of that, like in doing these two volunteering activities that I did, interacting and communication. It kind of really helped me. And what else? Second was like, there was a lot of planning involved, a lot of planning, conceptualizing and like, organizing activities and, coordinating with other people and like, managing people. Because I remember, we discussed it last time, like the events of, the career fair event in which like, we both were, responsible for, the companies and like, for organizing the other volunteers. And like, it was how heavy mechanical engineering influenced, volunteers, it was. So like,
Volunteers participation. Yeah.
yeah. So that was kind of nice, like, organizing people, like, like, because we knew most of the volunteers, so we knew, what they were suitable for. So it was kind of like planning stuff, like, Ahmad Barbari and Shravan and the door, because they are intimidating. So, people wouldn't dare do some stuff. And then you had other people like, there was Mohab, Carlos, Safwan, like, handing out, doing registrations and stuff. And like we had the girls do, like, they like to talk. So obviously you just, put them, like, to interact with the people who came from companies. So like the
Yeah.
planning stuff kind of, improved, I guess. Like, and for IMAKI, like, we had to plan, events and, like sometimes we had to interact with companies and individuals when we interacted for, like talks. And this was kind of nice. And, obviously like sometimes our skills were improved because we had events like, MATLAB, C++, and, we had one for Abacus and ANSI. So like you got to know about these softwares a bit more. And yeah, these kinds of things like kind of improved, over the last 2 years a lot.
Yeah, I guess we shared most of the activities that we were doing because our interests were not like sports or I don't know, art. It was mainly like to do with self-improvement, I would say, personal development.
Like during the university hours, like we weren't really interested in like, going and playing stuff. We were interested in improving the other, aspects, I guess. It's just that I wasn't really, keen on sports because I've done it in school and I was like, okay, it was cool. It's nice and done. Like, yeah, it's more time to be like, professional, improve the other aspects of your life, which I think we both have done. And I'm proud. It's not like I don't, it's not like I regret not playing sports. I mean, we had the opportunities. We just weren't so keen, in going down that path.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of like personal development and professional development, when were you interested? When did you find your interest in materials?
Yeah. So like, like first 3 years is mostly the subjects we can't take. I mean, we can't choose a lot of subjects. We just had one elective. It was either automotive or energy, right? But in fourth year, it was a really wide options, or a lot of options that you could choose from. And obviously it was, number one option was materials for me. We had, because I felt that we had some materials in the third year, but then I felt that, it was something that I could find myself doing in, the future, because for some reason I really liked it. And, it was really fundamental from what I looked at, compared to, like the other courses. So that was something that really attracted me. And I just looked at, like, if you just look around you, like at this point of time, like anything that you touch is a material. and there's something that has been gone, something that it has gone through to arrive at its final state. And that kind of always fascinated me. And that's what dragged me towards materials. And especially it was the third, I didn't know until third year, like, materials could be really fascinating. It was during the third year when we did the mechanical engineering science 7, I guess. Yeah. In which we had Dr. Rayahan teaching the finite elements analysis. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of really pulled me towards that side. I mean, I remember he taught us the dynamics also, but I didn't really
Yeah.
like the dynamics. But then, like, I just really loved finite element, and like, because it really was like I could really compare it, because you're doing something that you're simulating something that is taking place in real, and that was kind of attractive, and it was also kind of a bit fundamental, which I like. And yeah, that's what pulled me towards that side. And obviously there was also some subjects with Dr. Fadi, you will know, and he was kind of an all-rounder, I would say, and like, because he knew almost all the fields, like he had an expertise in almost all the four fields of fluids, solid, thermodynamics, and dynamics. And he was someone also like who, when we did some subjects in the mechanical engineering science 8 taught by him, there was a bit more of materials, and like, how it reacts with temperature and stuff. And that after doing that, it was like a no-brainer that I was going to do materials in my final year, specialize in that. And I took my thesis topic as also dissertation, if you want to call it, in the final year, also in the field of materials. So yeah, that's what it is. It was during the third year that I decided it's gonna be towards something related to materials or mechanics side.
So when you decided you wanted to do a masters, I know you've worked for a year after you graduated, but when you
Hmm.
decided that you wanted to do masters, why did you decide on going to Sweden? Like, was there any other option, or was it your only option?
Uh, Before, let's keep Sweden for a bit later, because I feel we are skipping a lot of what happened in that 2 3 years, 2 years, I guess. So obviously, additive manufacturing was something that got me interested, and thanks to Max of Generation 3D, who gave us an opportunity to work in the field. And then once we got back to year 4, we did a project on 3D printing. Right? So that's again thanks to Fahmi and Imensa, and there was Axel also from Imensa who gave us the project. So this kind of attracted me towards the design, simulation, and 3D printing side. So I before planning, I never had plan of working. After completing my master's, I was always interested in continuing to study. Um, I applied to one place in Germany, and that was the only place that I applied to, and it was in computational mechanics. I did not get in, so I didn't have any option. So that was when I started working at Imensa, and I did an internship first. Then I started working over there, and that sucked me even more into the field of additive manufacturing, because Imensa was doing a lot of different stuff. They were printing with different kind of polymers, and they were planning to move into metal. So we received some training for metal and from EOS, which is like the pioneer of additive manufacturing in the powder base. So once I received the training and stuff, I really got attracted to metal additive manufacturing because I felt like polymer is nice, but then the metal is where the challenges are with material development and stuff. So I looked up at universities in Europe. It was mostly in Europe and some in the UK. And I found Chalmers, and they have a good they have a good additive manufacturing research group, and they're focused on metals. So it was a no-brainer. I was like, Chalmers is gonna be one option, and I was again close to making the same mistake of just choosing one university. So, but I chose it anyways because when you're applying to Sweden, you could choose four universities. So it's like from most preferred to least preferred options. I know Chalmers, not many people know Chalmers. Like KTH is more known. So when I was telling I was going to apply to Sweden, people were like, are you going to apply for KTH? I was like, for materials. I was like, not really. And they were like shocked to know because they were looking at the name of the university, whereas I was looking at what I'm going to do in that place. And I looked at the courses. So it's not just about the rank. It's about where you're going to feel comfortable and if they are doing research that is interesting to you. So I chose only Chalmers because you could list four of them. I just chose Chalmers and it was just materials engineering and I just applied. And then I got feedback of no, you need to apply to more places. Then I applied to three other places and I got into two of them. But I got into Chalmers also, so I just decided to come to Chalmers. And here I am. It's been 1 year and close to 11 days.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone would prefer to always apply to his or her like first or most preferred university or position, and they would be happy if they're not like working on other applications. But it worked out in the end, and you're there. So,
Yes.
how would you describe living in Sweden as compared to like the countries you've lived in, like the United Arab Emirates and India?
Sweden is, how can I say, I can't describe it in one word that can justify living here. But I just like the entire experience. I like the people. I like the system. The weather is nice. Not in the entire Sweden. It depends where you are in Sweden because it's a really huge country which is long and it spreads up all the way to Arctic. So if you go to the north, it will be really cold. Um, but I live in Gothenburg and it's really nice. It's a kind of an industrial city, not too crowded. Um, I really enjoy the place and the university. The Swedish people are like really nice. I was kind of shocked to see how can how c- how can a person be so nice. The first day I arrived here, so me and there was one more of my another guy that I met on plane that when we had to go to the same place. It was just a random encounter. So we were kind of lost in between, and then like people just went out of the way to come and help you because when you go and ask, they're like, "Oh, where do you need to go?" and all this stuff. The bus drivers were like helpful. Uh, Not the random people that I met on the road, they were kind of helpful. They just go out of your way to help you. They wanted you to feel comfortable. And the major advantage was most of them spoke English. So that was really kind of helpful in navigating in the beginning few days. So it's a good experience. And my before even going, I spoke to my grandfather, and he has lived most of his life, or not most, the majority of his life in um, UAE, and he has encountered like some Swedish Norwegian people. So he told like they are really nice, and you will like it over there. So I took his word for it, and I guess he was right. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure every international moving to a country would find it very, very helpful, or would find it nice to like get help from everyone, or like people, random people they see on the streets. Yeah,
Yeah,
so you
it feels nice like when you are in a new country and people are welcoming and you're not like looked upon, oh, here comes another international. It it doesn't happen that much here, or didn't happen to me at least over here. And comparing life to UAE and India, um, so UAE, obviously, the weather, it's really extreme. Uh, it's not so extreme here. So that's one thing. India is okay. With India, it's more of a tropical place. India is so vast. I could say, speak only for my place. It's more of tropical, and it's like, raining sometimes in the monsoons and stuff, but it doesn't change a lot. But Sweden, like, we have four distinct seasons. So that is really nice. And, obviously, I miss the food from UAE and India, because in UAE you have different kinds of cuisines which you can experience, and it is authentic cuisine. They don't change the flavor to suit the local people, which I think is being done a lot in European countries, and things don't taste the same anymore.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I would agree. Like over here, it's the same thing. But
It's just, yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, like, we know, like, they're from India and from Arab countries, but, like, the majority of the people who are gonna go eat there are not from these two places, at least. So they have to tune it to suit their taste. Whereas in like UAE or India, it's not like that. Like, because if it's gonna be an Indian restaurant, you know that most of the Indians would go and eat there. If it's a Pakistani, most of the Desi people would go eat there. If it's Arabic, it's gonna be Arabic people going and eating there. So they don't have to change it. They know that if they sell the same thing, they're gonna get the customers back. But you can't expect to, like, have Indian restaurant to the spiciness level and expect like a European person to go eat there, because they are not used to that kind of spices, and it cannot be so good on your digestive system.
yeah, but moving away from food, how do you think your career perspectives are in Sweden?
I see it is a really good place for a materials engineer, or like anyone who's a mechanical engineer, because that was one of the things that I looked when I was shortlisting the universities, and they have quite a lot of industries here. Like, we have a lot of automotive companies here, a lot of tool manufacturing, a lot of materials manufacturing companies here, um, a lot of steel producers. Um, they're not they can't meet in the like production volume of like other big countries, like like even Germany is like one of the big steel producers, but they are more focused on like specialized steels for like different applications, because steel is really vast, so you can have different properties, different mechanical properties, different chemical properties, so they are more focused on the specialized steel. And it is also a kind of innovative country, and like, you get chance to like start your own company if you have a really good idea. And it's really nice, and I would say there are quite a few opportunities here, at least in my field. And that's how I see it. And also there's less hierarchy in the organizations. So that is something that I've felt it really here, because there are sometimes you have this career fairs that happening, and when you go there, it's like you have people who are like a high level manager of that particular department who is like coming and talking to you, and like you just look at him, he's just like a normal guy, like wearing t-shirt and jeans, and you'll be surprised to know that okay, this is like a really high level senior guy you're talking to, and he knows his stuff, which was kind of a different feeling, when compared to the career fairs in UAE, where you go, you just meet people from HR and you ask engineering questions, and you look at their blank faces sometimes and be like, okay, what's going on? But then here, like, if you're a materials engineer and you go to the company in a career fair, you can expect to find a materials engineer, or if not, at least an engineer who works in a similar field who will be able to answer your questions. So yeah, a lot of companies, a lot of variety of companies, and a lot of innovative companies in Sweden.
Yeah, and I'm sure people who are listening to this and are interested to like go to Europe, it's really nice when you find a place that's actually welcoming you to the job, or like they're actually interested in hiring you or working with you in the future. It's so sometimes you're living in countries that don't actually push that thing, and I find it really wonderful what they do over here in Europe.
Mm.
So how does that mentality over here affect your 5-year plan or 10-year plan?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the country. So if I get like, an opportunity to stay back, like for example, research job, or like, again, I'm more inclined to like, doing research. So it's kind of a PhD at either university or um, company I would like to stay. And like, complete it. Obviously, that will be like my 5-year plan, because it takes 5 years to complete a PhD. So the next 10-year plan would be like, after completing the PhD, like, get some more industrial experience or more experience in my field. So I see myself living here, in Sweden. If not Sweden, at least Scandinavia, because I've been to one of the countries and I've met people from other country. It feels nice. Mentality is a bit similar, and industries are nice. So I would I see myself living here for over the next 5 to 10 years, doing some kind of research work in materials, especially metallic materials. Let me clarify that. Because I just think that, metals are something that can be constantly be improved. No offense to like polymers, but it just feels that metals are my thing and I just need to do uh, something in it. I don't know, improve properties or find novel materials, do something that can, improve something in the field. So yeah.
I would agree on the Scandinavia countries part. Like if I if I had the chance to actually live there, I would just take it because I've been there once and I just fell in love. Like when you fall in love at first sight, that's what
Yeah.
happened.
I
So
remember, I remember seeing you, because I came to pick you up, right? And I remember saying, getting out of the bus. It was like what, 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, and you were like, "Dude, I love Sweden." These are like the first three words you told as soon as you get out of the bus. You didn't even ask, "How are you?" You told this.
see, I don't know. I don't know what it was. It's basically it's different. Like living in Germany is nice and everything, but I don't know. It's the weather, the air. I don't know what it was, to be honest. Like I just fell in love.
That was my first reaction to, because like, I got down in Gothenburg, and then like you take a bus to the city. So when I was taking this bus to the city, I was like, I just don't know, I didn't know this place. It felt different, like the vibe, like you get vibe when you go to different places. It was just really nice that I liked the country for some reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
So,
why, but I just like it.
I mean, I think everyone who goes to Scandinavian countries would fall in love as well. So
Mm.
we're at the end of this podcast, this episode, I mean. So Fardan, thank you very much for your insightful words and advices. Do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
So one thing, I mean, few things is one. I've already told one, like don't try to delay things. If you have something to do, just do it. It can be anything. It can be your university work or like some other work that you have to do, asking someone something. If you have any misunderstanding, just do it. That's one. Um, Second thing is try to analyze stuff. Like if you want to take a new job, or if you want to choose a thesis topic, if you want to choose a life partner, if you want to choose a university, analyze your options, see what's the best thing that you can get out of it, what's the worst thing you can get out of it, and analyze it, and see if you could live with the worst thing, and things like that. So those things like that really help you narrow the point or narrow the option and choose one. Third thing is, like all these things that keep going around, like, don't generalize people, I would say, based on a nationality, a culture, or a religion. I used to have like a general idea before, like when I was in school and stuff, but then like that whole thing changed because once you meet the people, once you meet different people, you realize that uh, there is nothing for you to generalize in terms of gender, religion, or culture. There are only two types of people: good and bad people, and they can be in from any culture, any religion, any gender. So don't generalize people. And yeah, three things, um, three broad things for you to consider after listening to this episode.
Definitely. Wonderful advice from you. So thank you again for your insightful words and advices and experience. Um, to those of you who are watching, don't forget to like this video or episode. I don't know if you can even like it on Spotify, but like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and leave a comment. Just say whatever comes to your mind, and we hope to see you now on our next season. We're gonna be posting like an update video about what's gonna happen, and another video on, or like, what's it, like, why did we start this podcast, and why we won't ever stop. So even if you like, even if you don't like what we're doing, it's never gonna stop. But anyways, we hope that you like it, and we hope that you like whatever we're gonna come up with in the next season. So thank you all for staying with us during this season and during our initial phase, and we hope to see you in the next one.